What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. I hope you all had a great Colonizers Independence Day. And, I hope everything is going well for you and that slave ass 9 to 5 job that you're at. I hope they ain't working you too hard on the plantation out there. But I want to come through and talk about what recently happened between 50 Cent and Lil Wayne. Apparently, Lil Wayne has a podcast show now. I didn't know about this until this incident happened. But yeah, apparently Lil Wayne is jumping into the, podcast online radio show game. For one reason or another. I think the show is called Tunchi Tanucci, whatever. And one of the guests on Lil Wayne's show was 50 Cent. And he and 50 Cent, were having a discussion, a conversation, and 50 Cent brought up the topic of black women being angry and upset when they see him with, quote unquote exoticals, exotic women. And, I'm not going to say that there's no truth into that, in that, you know, um, you know, a segment of black women definitely do, get upset and, don't like seeing that, right? But, nevertheless, they seem to be really, Lil Wayne and 50 Cent seem to really be kind of like low key enjoying kind of like getting a rise out of black women in that way, where black women are upset and they're bothered that, 50 Cent, he is with an exotical, right? And I guess Lil Wayne as well, right? And again, we all can like what we like. We all can have preferences. We all can have requirements. People's preferences are ultimately their right. Everyone has a right to a preference, a requirement, whatever you want to call it. Although it is important to differentiate between preferences and requirements because those are two different things. But ultimately, again, we all have a right to have those preferences or requirements. No matter if they come from like a fucked up place. Everyone still has, in my personal opinion, you still have the right, right? So this seems to be their preference requirement, although, when they were back in the hood before things really popped off, how's that going with the whole exotical thing? Because if you see the first baby mamas, both of their first baby mamas, they didn't really seem exotic. They look nice. I'm not saying that they, Ugg mugs or anything. They're beautiful black women. Especially Toya. I haven't seen much of 50 Cent's baby mama, but I'm sure she's a beautiful black queen too. All right. But yeah, you do notice that, right? And that's a bit interesting. Like, oh, now it's all about exoticals once, they got to come up, right? And again, exotical, is that like a keyword or like code word for like non-black or at least non-phenotypically black or something like that? Just wondering. But really, I thought Lil Wayne had a desire for a tongue-kissing baby. Last time I checked, that was his desire. The tongue-kiss baby all up in the mouth, swamp and spit and, tongue wrestling and all that stuff with baby. But baby also, snatched Lil Wayne's like money or something like that. I think him and Lil Wayne has some sort of a contract issue or whatever. That's probably what she should really be concentrating on, but whatever. And as well, like 50 Cent, as far as I heard, he has been accused of domestic violence by both of his baby mamas. And as well, I think 50 Cent kind of low-key got some, mommy issues at play. And I think that may be because perhaps his mother was, she belonged to the streets, if you know what I mean. And and because of that, maybe he's seen his mom engaging in certain activities and perhaps inviting certain people into their home, and some way or another, seeing her behave in a certain way, losing respect for his mom, perhaps as well. Um, and as well, like his father probably wasn't present as well, which he may blame on his mom as well. I don't know. This is just me, sharing my speculation and conjecture with you on that. I don't know, but I do think there's a little bit of something there, in terms of like 50 Cent's relationship with his mom, and thus that fractured relationship playing out when it comes to his interaction with other black women, perhaps. Um, but again, as I mentioned, we all have a right to like who we like and all that good stuff, you know. But I do think that, I don't know, this seemed like they, like 50 and Lil Wayne, I don't know, especially 50 though, was like low key trolling, like low key kind of trolling there. And I think a lot of people like to troll black women. People, for some reason, like to fuck with black women. People love to see a black woman bothered, right? They love to get a rise out of black women for some reason, right? Why is that? Yeah. And then the black women, when they do react, and it's like, oh, you shouldn't even be bothered by that. Why are you so bothered? You know, you shouldn't even be listening to that, or you shouldn't care about that. If it don't apply, let it fly, right? But when it comes to these niggas being bothered, then all of a sudden, all hands on deck, SOS, goddamn, call in the National Guard. We gotta deal with this problem. Yeah, shit. B. Simone said she didn't like 9 to 5 black men, or really just men, but probably just implied that it was black men. She didn't like 9 to 5 black men. Let's drag her. And black women will participate in dragging, you know, other black women who get off code too, when it comes to like that type of thing, right? But, that's just, I think, I don't know where that comes from. It's just, I don't know, an anti-black woman sentiment that seems to permeate like throughout society for some reason, both in and outside the community, by the way. But a lot of these black women, they love their black kings, though. They love them black kings. All right. They can't get enough of the black king. The black king can do no wrong. All right. The black king can bring snowstorms. The black king can bring thunderstorms. Goddamn. But he can't do no wrong. All right. And I think, this is part of the issue, Um, when folks can't do any wrong, then it's like, well, who's going to check them? And I do, when black women, some segment of black women, I think, when they heard this, they were disappointed. Black women were disappointed. Black women were hurt. Black women were devastated that the man who they hold in such high regard and high esteem don't feel the same way about them. And then, some black women will, come through and try to save face and be like, it ain't me. I'm unbothered. You know, it ain't me. Shoot, it don't apply, so I'm letting it fly. You know, I'm not like those other black women. I got self-esteem. I'm a good one. I love my black king. Right? And I think all of this kind of comes together and creates an atmosphere where, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, and other men with similar sentiments feel comfortable talking this shit. as well because of fame, clout, and money, and of course, again, the black women calling them black kings all goddamn day on social media, you know, just because they may like secure a good business deal, or perhaps have. Sometimes it just don't even have to have an accomplishment behind it. Sometimes it's just, oh, he exists, so he a black king. He existing while he black, so he a black king. You know, he took his children to the bus stop to catch the school bus. That's a black king. You know, he paid the water bill on time this month. Black king, right? And these same black women will low key roll out the welcome mat for non-black women, me calling non-black women, black queens too. Goddamn, like, oh, Kim Kardashian wore braids to the BET Awards. She a black queen too. Oh, Khloe Kardashian had a baby by a no good nigga that cheated on her while she was pregnant. She a black queen too. Kylie Jenner got pregnant by a nigga she only dated for 2 months. She a black queen too. You know, and that's part of the problem too. Like rolling out the welcome mat for the non-black, the exoticals, right? And also big up in niggas who want the exoticals. I think kind of like once you realize the preference that these Negroes have, then I think you should, withdraw your Black King fandom. But if you like it, that's what's up. If that works for you, all right. But notice no one really dragged Lil Wayne and 50 Cent about this. No one dragged them. No one dragged, Lil Wayne by his two dreads that he still got in his head. No one dragged 50 Cent, by his two buck teeth, right? They were able to just say what they said, and and not to say that they didn't receive criticism at all, but it wasn't as strong as it probably should have been, right? Like, say if black women were caught doing something like this, then, we would still be dragging them right as we speak. Both black men and black women, right? You know, why is that? I think when it comes to black women and they're, being attacked or ridiculed or whatever, then it's like, well, if it don't apply, let it fly. You shouldn't be bothered by that. Oh, who cares? We got bigger issues. But then if it was black men, then it would be like, oh, that's anti-black. Oh, this is why our black kings don't want to date us because of women like you. Or even just, oh, this is why I don't date you black women. You're always trying to bring a black man down, trying to bring a brother down. The black woman is the original Al-Qaeda. She has been terrorizing the black man since inception. God damn it. The black woman is the original Al-Qaeda. Right? And again, when it comes to, getting black women together and dragging black women, that's definitely a national sport. Both in and outside of the community, everyone loves to participate in that. All right, black women love to participate in dragging other black women and getting black women together, especially if it's on the behalf of black men, right? And another thing that comes up is it seems like, I don't know, we as the black community seem to be kind of like scared or hesitant to hold black men accountable for when they do things that are fucked up, or like 50 Cent and Lil Wayne have participated in rap music and hip hop and help perpetuate negative images of black women, right? And even just black men as well, perpetuating negative images and stereotypes about black men as well as black women, right? But we hold these people seemingly in high regard for some reason, and it's like, oh, we can't criticize them, or if we do, then it's like, oh well, they donated to, you know, so and so's GoFundMe, or they donated to, you know, Black Lives Matter, or the United Negro College Fund, or, you know, it's something like, oh, just because you did one good thing, it's supposed to cancel out your bad things that you did, and that's not necessarily true. You know, just because you do one or a few good things doesn't necessarily mean that it cancels out your bad things, right? Like, say the United States of America, you know, they perhaps have done some good things for Black people in regards to, you know, perhaps providing scholarships or something like that, or, you know, affirmative action. But even, yeah, but that's another story. But yeah, but it still doesn't cancel out like all the bad things that the United States did, and as well the bad things that the United States turned a blind eye to as well. And also, you know, just in general, I don't think these dudes really like their exoticals as much as people may think. Even exoticals may think, right? I don't think so. You know, do the exoticals really get treated much better? I mean, they maybe have access to a higher standard of living, you know, a more extravagant lifestyle, perhaps. You know, but you know, the exoticals, they get cheated on too. They get beat on too. They get left single moms too. So it's like, well, you know, maybe they just need to keep it pushing, and you know, with the exoticals, and keep all the bullshit over there with the exoticals. But you know, sometimes these dudes, they like to make an announcement about the preferences so they can see Black women get bothered, right? And they control Black women, and they can see Black women sweating because you know they love to see a Black woman bothered and sweating, and you know, going crazy because of something that they said against them. And another thing that came up during this was the actress Notori Naughton, who, you know, came through, you know, the 3LW group way back when. She came through and wished 50 Cent happy birthday. And some folks took issue with that. My personal take on this is I think it probably should have just been done in private. You know, I can understand Notori not wanting to kind of like burn bridges in the sense of like, oh, criticizing 50 Cent, or, you know, low key getting on 50 Cent's bad side, you know, and beefing with 50 Cent because he is a business contact. He's a network contact, right? One of her networking contacts who may be able to give her more work opportunities, or perhaps even, maybe even just lead her to more work opportunities. You know, Hollywood is a very small town. It is. And Black Hollywood is especially small. And the roles for Black women aren't extremely plentiful. And I even heard from one Black actress that pretty much all the Black women in Hollywood have auditioned with and against one another at one point or another, just because of the scarcity of roles, right? um, so I can understand Notori kind of just wanting to still maintain some type of a relationship with 50 Cent, at least from a business standpoint, right? I can understand that. But again, it probably could have just been done privately. It didn't have to be done publicly, because then folks start saying that, oh, she's supporting this. Well, she may or may not be. She may or may not care. She may be one of those Black women who just feel like it ain't me, or at least it ain't me today. You know, even though he was, you know, comparing her to Goro from Mortal Kombat, you know, and how she looked with no edges or whatever, right? Because, that's what 50 Cent do with his spare time. He looks at other black women's photos. He look at black women's photos on social media and he be like, girl, where are your edges at? Girl, who snatched your edges? Your edges is tied and through. That's what 50 Cent do in his free time. you know, but I think the thing is, though, I think this is part of the reason why, this fuckery continues to thrive and flourish is because, people are kind of afraid to check certain people because they're kind of like in a position to affect their bag, so to speak. And people are afraid to call out these people who are problematic because they feel like they may lose something, you know, lose a business opportunity, lose money, perhaps get blackballed. Although I don't know if 50 Cent really has the power to blackball anybody. But just in general, though, you know. Right. And then Tori Hart, she came through and spoke, and basically she was calling on black men to, stand up for black women. And I think the thing is with that, like the fact is that if you have to ask black men to stand up for black women, then that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign, right? Um, you know, Amanda Seales did something like that a while ago with the Terry Crews situation with Gabrielle Union. She was, asking black men to, support black women more and to stand up for black women more. And also, Ari Lennox called on black men to stand up for her when, her facial features were being criticized and her looks were being criticized. And I don't know if black men as a collective really rose to the occasion. I don't think so. But the thing is, do black men have to prompt black women to advocate for them? By and large, no. For one reason or another, they don't. And I think that's something to think about. It's almost like the black woman, she is programmed to, you know, go all in on behalf of the black man, even at her own expense, right? She must protect the black man at all costs, right? And I think low-key that sort of creates sort of like a weird dynamic, a weird gender role reversal in the black community to an extent, you know. But, I think you have to be careful about who and what you support. And I think when it comes to like 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, if you don't agree with what they said and you felt offended by it, then I think, you just need to withdraw support from them. Don't watch 50 Cent's show. Don't stream any of Lil Wayne or 50 Cent's music. Don't watch Lil Wayne's podcast show, etc. But unfortunately, I think more than enough people, especially black women, like Power. They like watching Power, even though I think it ended at one point or another. But I'm pretty sure they're probably watching reruns or stuff like that, right? I know I worked with one black woman for a brief period, and she was just in love with the show Power. For one reason or another, she really liked the show Power. But I think I mentioned all I have to say for the moment, for the time being. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And to the next video, adios and goodbye for now.